Good morning, everyone. My name is Hua. I'm 32 years old, and I currently live with my family in central Vietnam. I live with my parents, my wife, and our two little daughters in a small town called Ho Cha. Today is a special day for me because I've decided to wake up early and get back to my morning runs. You know, I used to be someone who really loved sports. I enjoyed playing soccer, badminton, volleyball, and many other activities. But life changed. Between work, family responsibilities, and everything else that comes with being an adult, I slowly drifted away from exercise. Before I realized it, 2 years had gone by without playing sports or working out at all. It's around 5 in the morning, and I only have about an hour to run before heading back home at 6 a.m. for a much more important mission. My mission is to take care of my 2.5-year-old daughter from early morning until late at night. Well, not exactly. She normally goes to preschool from Monday to Saturday, but today is a little different. Even though it's Saturday, she's feeling a bit under the weather, which means we're going to spend the whole weekend together. And when I say together, I mean really together. Now come along with me. My running spot is about 1 kilometer away from home, so I'll be taking my motorbike to make sure I get back on time. There are plenty of other places to run, but I really like this one because it's much quieter and more peaceful than the others. By the way, can you hear that sound in the distance? That's the sound coming from the loudspeakers, something that only early risers in Vietnam usually get to hear. This is my motorbike. I bought it about 10 years ago, and it's still running well. As you can see, there's always a small seat attached to it for taking my daughter to and from preschool. In Vietnam, motorbikes are still the most common way to get around because they're convenient and affordable. But cars are becoming more and more popular these days. A few years ago, there weren't many cars around where I live, but over the last 5 years, it feels like they're everywhere. We've arrived. This is a small stadium, and it's rarely used these days. I remember about 15 years ago, when I was in high school, this was where my friends and I used to play soccer almost every afternoon. The air here in the morning is fresh and peaceful, but only a few people come here to run. Most people prefer going to the park because there are some public exercise facilities there, like treadmills, pull-up bars, parallel bars, and stationary bikes. But I'm different. I actually prefer this old stadium because it's big enough to let you run until you're completely exhausted. And just as I expected, after 2 years without exercising, just 2 laps around this stadium were enough to leave me completely out of breath. All right, I'm exhausted. I managed to finish 4 laps around the stadium this morning, which is probably about 3 kilometers. I think that's more than enough for my first day back. Now it's time to sit down, catch my breath for a bit, and head home. By the way, do you know what these little burrs stuck to my shoes are? I bet you probably don't have these where you live. This is my little house. It has 2 bedrooms. My wife sleeps in one room with our baby girl, and my little girl and I sleep in the other. This is the view from my backyard. And this is my mother, an amazing woman who has always loved and cared for her children and grandchildren. After resting for a few minutes, it's time for a shower. I usually take a shower around 9 a.m., but today is a little different. Look at her. My little girl is still fast asleep. She's a sweet but demanding little girl who loves being spoiled. Yet she's surprisingly strong for her age. Ever since my wife gave birth to her baby sister, she's had to sleep with Dad instead. Becoming a big sister at 2.5 years old isn't easy. That's why my wife and I always try our best to give our little angel a little extra love and attention. Maybe it's because of how much I love this little girl that I decided to give up my career and come back to live a peaceful life in my hometown. This small town. You know, about 2 years ago, I was in Hungary pursuing my PhD. But I missed my little girl so much that I eventually decided to put my career on hold and return to Vietnam. Before that, in June 2023, my wife and I got married after being together for almost 10 years. Just 1 month later, we found out that we were expecting our first baby. But we only had 4 more months together before I left for Hungary in October 2023. At that time, my wife was 7 months pregnant, and by the time I came back, my daughter was already 4 months old. Honestly, deciding to stop my studies and return home was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. But in the end, I came back, and now I get to be with my little family every day, even though life is more challenging for us financially. Still, I think being together is worth more than anything. Now come with us, and let's grab some breakfast. On normal days, when my little girl is at preschool, I usually cook breakfast at home to save money. I only buy breakfast for my wife because she still needs plenty of energy to recover after giving birth. But on weekends, I like to treat myself to one of my favorite breakfast dishes. Since I live in a small town, there are plenty of breakfast stalls around, and there are so many different foods to choose from. It's not just breakfast stalls. There are also lots of beautiful coffee shops around where I live. If you ever have a chance to visit Vietnam, I'd be more than happy to take you out for breakfast and coffee. I'm a coffee lover, and I usually make my own coffee at home every morning. But hey, it's the weekend, right? I think I deserve to treat myself to a nice cup of coffee at a cafe today. We're heading to a small pho restaurant that we really like. A bowl of pho here costs about $1.20. Pho is one of the most popular and beloved dishes in Vietnam. No matter where you go in this S-shaped country, you'll almost always find a pho restaurant nearby. I planned to have breakfast and feed my little girl at the same time this morning. But when we got home, she wanted to go over and spend some time with her grandparents instead. My parents live only about 30 meters away from our house, so we usually have lunch and dinner together every day. In a way, we live as one big family, but we sleep and go about our daily routines in 2 separate places that are very close to each other. Because of the nature of their work, my parents need to stay where they work, which is why we have this arrangement. Come and have breakfast with me, and let me tell you a little bit about myself. Life has taken me to many different places. A few years ago, I worked as a lecturer at an academy in Ho Chi Minh City. Before that, I spent about 3 years living in Romania, and later I had the opportunity to pursue a PhD in Hungary. Looking back, I sometimes feel surprised by how many places life has taken me. If you had asked me 10 years ago where I would be today, I probably would never have imagined that I would end up living a quiet life in a small town in central Vietnam. Today, my life is much simpler. I work online as a freelancer in social media, and to be honest, my income is quite modest. On average, I earn around $220 a month. It is not a lot, but for now, it is enough for me to stay close to my family and take care of my two little daughters. Since my wife gave birth to our second baby, I haven't been able to focus on work as much as I used to. Taking care of children, helping my wife, and trying to make a living at the same time is not easy at all. Sometimes I feel stressed. Sometimes I worry about the future. And sometimes I wonder whether I made the right decisions in life. But whenever I see my daughters smiling, I somehow find peace again. People often ask me if I regret leaving my studies and coming back to Vietnam. Honestly, I don't think life always has a perfect answer. Every choice comes with something gained and something lost. Maybe I lost some opportunities in my career, but I gained precious moments with my family that I can never get back once they are gone. As I grow older, I realize that success means different things to different people. For some people, success means money, fame, or achievements. For me, success has become much simpler. It means waking up in the morning, seeing my parents still healthy, having breakfast with my wife and children, and going to bed knowing that everyone I love is safe and happy. I don't know what life will look like 5 or 10 years from now. Maybe things will get better. Maybe they will become harder. But I believe that life doesn't always have to be fast. Sometimes moving slowly is okay. Sometimes having less is okay. And sometimes an ordinary life with the people you love is already something beautiful. So for now, I just want to keep trying, keep working, and keep enjoying these little moments with my family. Because one day, these ordinary days may become the memories that I miss the most. After breakfast, I'll go inside and help my wife take care of our newborn baby before starting work. It's only about 7:30 in the morning now. My wife is the same age as me, and we've been together for more than 10 years before finally getting married. She used to work for a company in Da Nang, but she has stayed at home for the last 3 years to have children and take care of our family. Our little girl was born on May 30th, 2026. I still remember that day very clearly. At around 3 a.m., my wife started having contractions, and the two of us quietly made our way to the hospital. Luckily, everything went smoothly. Just 3 hours later, she gave birth naturally to our beautiful little princess, weighing 3.1 kilograms. Seeing my wife safe and holding my baby girl for the first time was one of the happiest moments of my life. After playing with the baby, I got back to work. This morning I need to repair the fence around my house. I built this fence myself a few years ago. Back then, its purpose was simple. I wanted to make it harder for thieves to climb over and get into our yard. It wasn't pretty, and honestly, I didn't care much about how it looked. I just wanted my family to be safe. But life changes, and funny enough, our priorities change too. Today, I'm repairing the same fence for a completely different reason. Summer has arrived in central Vietnam, and the afternoon sun has become unbearable. Every day, sunlight pours directly into our house and turns it into an oven. So I'm turning this old fence into a shade screen, hoping it can make the house a little cooler for my wife and my children. As I work under the hot sun, I can't help thinking that life is a lot like this fence. A few years ago, I cared mostly about building walls to protect myself. I worried about my career, money, and the future. I thought success meant having more, earning more, and achieving more. But marriage and fatherhood have changed me. I still worry about money, and I still hope to earn more and give my family a better life. But many things that used to seem important don't feel that important anymore. These days, I think about different things. Will my parents stay healthy? Will my wife get enough rest? Will my daughters grow up happily? Will we still be sitting around the dinner table together 10 years from now? Maybe getting older changes a man. Or maybe becoming a father changes him. I don't know. But I do know that I've started paying attention to things I used to ignore. A peaceful morning, a cup of coffee, my daughter falling asleep in my arms, my wife smiling after a long day, or even repairing an old fence on a hot summer morning. When I was younger, I thought happiness was somewhere far away. I thought I had to become successful first, and then I would finally be happy. But now, I think happiness has always been around me. I was just too busy chasing something else to notice it. Of course, life isn't perfect. Sometimes I feel pressure. Sometimes I lie awake at night, wondering if I made the right decisions. Leaving my PhD, coming back to Vietnam, and starting over with a modest life were not easy choices. But then I look around. My wife is inside taking care of our newborn daughter. My little girl is probably playing with her grandparents. And here I am, repairing an old fence under the summer sun. Maybe this isn't the life I imagined when I was younger, but somehow I think this is the life I truly wanted. Maybe none of us really have everything figured out. Maybe we're all just trying our best, trying to earn enough, trying to love enough, and trying to become a little better than we were yesterday. And maybe, just maybe, that's already enough.